Hello and welcome back to my channel, Family Tech, where you get all the tech tips, news, and information to help you understand and manage the technology in your home. I don't often have this experience. Well, I mean, I have interviewed my own kids on this platform before, but I'm super excited about today's guest because he is a high school student and he has developed a awesome coding app for learning how to code. And so, just can you explain to me exactly kind of your background and how you got into this and what you do?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I'm Nathan, and with my co-founder Jahan, he's not here today, but we created Codera, and it's the learning app that makes coding fun. And so when I was in sixth grade, I wanted to learn how to code, and so I was self-taught. So I looked everywhere. I went watched YouTube videos. I did other online platforms, but nothing was really like that fun. And some of it was hard, some of it was just boring. So I ended up not really going through with it. And then eventually I came back to it. I stopped, I started, and then I did learn how to code. And then I realized that it was not being taught in the way that I knew that it could be taught. And so I kind of thought to myself, when I'm able to make a platform like this, that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna make it as fun as possible. And so here we are today.
So here we are. That's so awesome. And I love that you've like taken this initiative and be like, "Hey, I'm seeing like a lack, like something that I want and so I'll make it." Like and that's kind of where the best inventions come from is like, "Okay, I want this. It doesn't exist. Let's go for it."
Exactly. Yeah. It started kind of just as a side project. And then I realized, oh, this could be really useful. Let's turn it into a company.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what advice, like you're so young, it's so awesome. What advice do you have for other parents who want to encourage their kids interested in coding? Like, so what did your parents do so great that makes you the person you are today?
I think a lot of it is kind of freedom. Like you need to strike that balance between giving your child enough freedom to where they can explore their interests while still not being like encumbered by you. So if you're
Yeah.
getting too much in your kid's way and trying to push them into the direction you want, that kind of restricts their freedom and they might end up straying away from that. And so I guess like freedom while still like encouraging them and positive reinforcement. I think
Yeah.
I think I've experienced a lot of negative reinforcement, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. I totally get that. And I love what you said about like kind of giving freedom where like they might not have the same interests that you do.
Mhm.
And I totally understand that. My daughter, when she was born, I decorated her whole room in Tinkerbell. I'm obsessed with Disney. So like Tinkerbell, like, oh, I have a little daughter. It's going to be great. And then like in little elementary school, she was filling out like those book order forms and she literally circled every book except for a Tinkerbell book on this page. And I was like, okay, I get it. So we changed her room to like what she wanted. But like that totally resonates with me where like this is something I'm really into, but it might not be what my kids are into and encourage what they're into.
Mhm. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
leads into how, although that is true, I think coding can be exciting for everyone. Like, because it's just so varied. Like you can go through so many different paths. It's not just like coding is just this one thing. It can turn into, robotics. It can turn into making websites, and then making websites isn't just about code. It's about, say you're into lawn care, you can create a lawn care business and a website for that. Or you can, if
Right.
you're into toys, you can create a toy website. And so coding kind of enables all those different interests and paths, taking it to like that digital sphere.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And just for those watching, if you have any questions for Nathan or questions about kids and coding, feel free to pop those in the chat, and we'll go ahead and get those answered for you at the end of our conversation. So, what if like you're a parent? We talked about kind of this dichotomy of like I'm into this, but you're not. What if I'm kind of into coding, but you're not interested? What can parents do to kind of help them see the benefits of what they can do with coding?
Definitely just showing the end result. So when I was in sixth grade, the reason why I wanted to learn to code was because I saw these like robots and I saw them moving. I actually watched the movie Iron Man, and that
Nice.
was super cool. Like seeing Tony Stark program the Iron Man suit and then seeing him fly around, and that kind of sparked that passion. Like I want to be able to do that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, the end result so, like, "Hey, look at this app, it's so cool, like, don't you wanna make something like that?" or anything like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, and also the end result too, and also the process itself. I think you kinda have to go through that process to realize how, like, how fun it is, and, like,
Mhm.
how, like, because it's like creating something, and I think everyone
Yeah.
intrinsically loves creating, so
Yeah, so that actually leads into, like, my next question is what are some of the benefits of coding? Like, obviously, you can tap into your creativity, so you can create, basically anything, but what other kind of skills do you think help, not help, but, like, as a result of learning how to code?
yeah, well, so there's those 2 aspects of it. There's like the cognitive benefits, which is like obviously coding, you're gonna be problem solving, you're gonna be short-term memory, right? All those skills are gonna increase. But then also there's like the soft skills, which is like with any sort of skill, like you can get these same benefits from like a sport, which is where it's like persistence, keeping at it, not giving up, all those benefits. And yeah, so there's 2 aspects like the soft skills and then also like the cognitive and creativity.
Yeah, that's so true. So with the problem solving skills, I think that really helps them in just everyday life, like not only problem solving with the coding, but they bring that problem solving into relationships, into, their job, whether it has anything to do with coding or not. They've got these skills where they could like, okay, here's how to approach a problem and here's how to solve it.
Yeah, definitely. And in school, like I've seen
Yeah.
that, like I've started coding in like 6th grade when I wanted to learn, and I just always found math easier. Like, and also my friends who know how to code, like they generally are just better at math, better at analytical thinking, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, totally agree. So, and actually, this kind of the question I had next kind of leads into a question that we got on YouTube here. I'll pop this up. So, when you actually learned to code, what stack technologies did you start with? And if you could do it over, would you pick a different language or stack?
Yeah, so the very first thing that I did when I wanted to learn how to code was Khan Academy. I did their I think they're like drawing shapes onto a screen. I think that was JavaScript, and I did not find that enjoying. I love Khan Academy. I love like all the other courses, but programming, not so much. And so from there, I kind of gave up. I stopped coding for a little bit. Then I went back onto YouTube and I started watching like YouTube videos on game development, drawing things to a screen again, but now it's moving. And
Mhm.
that was also JavaScript. P5.js was it's an animation library. That's what I used. And yeah, that was really fun. And that's when I started seeing like, oh, the end result. I was just copying code at that point, but I was seeing it move.
Sure.
And so that inspired me to keep going. And then that's what I started with. If I could do it over, I would probably do Python. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just see
That,
like, yeah, it's just like it's a lot easier, and it's just so many use cases for it. Like you could go into machine learning, and then you can still do game development, website development, everything. Yeah.
yeah. So the question that I had, which you've already answered basically, is what are some beginner languages kids can start with? So you think they should start with Python, or is there a better entry level one that?
Yeah, so I think very, very young kids, like at 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, shouldn't really start with Python. It should be like block-based programming. But I think after
Right.
you get past 8, 9 years old, it should transition into Python, which is kind of like English. And the reason for that is because it's like you're typing, and the act of typing and like actually like creating that program is, I think, it's better than block-based, and it's they're capable of doing it. And so there's no
Yeah.
point in going back to block-based programming.
Yeah. And now I'm familiar because this is what I do, but explain to a lot of the parents out there who don't know what block based means. What does that mean?
Yeah, so that's basically blocks that so each block has like a command, and then you drag the blocks and make like a sequence of blocks that executes like each command. And
Yeah.
that's essentially the same thing as text-based programming, except there's no syntax, and so it's a lot easier to understand. But then the problem with that is you kind of remove you remove some complexity, but in removing complexity, you remove a bit of the enjoyment and a bit of that like struggling, and then finding the solution and learning. And so I think that's a big part of programming that needs to be there when you're learning.
Yeah, I love that. So a lot of the block-based programs, like any coding toys or anything that you get, will all be block-based programming. They'll just, drag and drop, okay, turn left and do that kind of stuff. And then the Scratch is probably one of the most popular, scratch.mit.edu.
Mhm,
That's a lot of block-based programming. But what I like about Scratch is you can kind of move the blocks, but then you can switch it over to the
mhm,
text base and kind of manipulate it from there. So I think that's a good like transition
right.
area to go with as well. Um, awesome. I was gonna say something else about block base, but I can't remember now, so we'll just move on. So you and your co-creator are so young, which is awesome. And I love seeing that, because with my son too, he's getting into Python. He started out with, the block-based programming and stuff, but already creating amazing programs. So what did your parents do to encourage you to kind of, you know, take what you're excited and passionate about and like take it to the next level like you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think my parents just never hampered me. So if I had an interest and I was interested in coding, I pursued that, and my parents just really never stopped me. They never tried to direct my interests, but they did encourage me, and so yeah, I think, and it's kind of like a rabbit hole. Like when you start programming, and then you kind of like it rabbit holes down and it spirals. And so I think just getting your kid that on that initial step, and then
Mhm.
just letting them go the rest of the path, because it'll spiral. And yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So, what do you think? And I don't know how your parents feel about any of this, but like with I talk a lot about parental controls and things like that.
Mhm.
So, is there a good happy medium between like trying to keep you safe and letting you have that freedom to, explore these codes and things?
Yeah, yeah, there definitely is a balance that you need to strike. So, and enough control to where they're still safe, obviously, but not enough to where they're like they feel restricted, and they feel yeah, and they feel like closed in. So about so do you mean parental controls with like content on the internet, or just like
Yeah, like content on the internet, setting time limits, things like that. Just kind of all the things that parents do to try and keep their kids safe, but can hinder a
Mhm.
passion like you have.
Oh, you're right. So like screen time controls and things like
Sure,
that.
like yeah, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've also had that. And I think it's actually useful, as long as you know, like there's different types of screen time. So if your child is spending their screen time like on things that aren't constructive, just wasting their time, then I think screen time controls are good, but you also need to keep in mind that that's bad screen time, and good screen time is also there. And so I think it's better to transition bad screen time to good screen time, rather than trying to reduce bad screen time. And so in order to do that, what you really got to do is just make good screen time engaging and enjoyable, right? So the reason why kids are doing like unconstructive screen time is because, well, it's interesting, it's fun,
Right.
and so just making good screen time enjoyable. And yeah, that's also thing that we try to do with Codera, is just making learning to code fun, so it's like a constructive behavior that's also rewarding.
And I totally agree with that. So, I basically give my kids kind of unlimited screen time, but they do have like intervals. Like so it'll be like I give them an hour, and then if the hour's up, my son will say, "Hey, can I have more time?" I'll kind of check and see what they're doing. Oh, he's like, coding his website or something like that. Yeah, for
Mhm,
sure. You can have, as much time as you want. But I love what you said there about like the bad screen time versus the good screen time, because there is so much good screen time that
mhm,
can be had out there. Like I said, when and parents should encourage that and make it fun. So my son, when he was like just last week, was saying something about his website, and I had bought him a domain like forever ago that he could mess around on. He's like, "Well, I messed up that domain." I'm like, "Well, I can fix it for you. You can start back over from scratch." He's like, "Well, I don't like the URL." So I'm like, well, I'll buy you a different URL if you want. So I got him a new URL, and he's got and now he's like able to program that, and he's having a lot more fun, and he's doing coding and like creating this website, and I have no problems with him like getting on YouTube and just like wasting time or on TikTok or anything like that. He's on his website and coding that. So, kind of encouraging the good screen time uh, with something that they are interested in and want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um, so are there specific classes at school, do you think, that have been beneficial to you as you're trying to start this entrepreneur journey?
The thing with entrepreneurship, especially like in the digital age, is I don't think in school or in high school at least, there's not really any courses that you can take that'll teach you anything. It's kind of just a thing you have to figure out by yourself. But
Right.
there's classes that feed into the skill sets you need to succeed in business. So, everything from language classes like English class to math class, like all those things build fundamental skills that help you in business. And so, yeah, I've applied a lot of those skills, but there's not really anything that gives you that set path. It's kind of just like figure it out. Here you go.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're like I like what you said with like, all of the kind of core classes where, I know when I was in school, we'd always say like, when am I ever going to use this in real life? But creating those habits and like, doing your homework and meeting deadlines and things are definitely things that can translate into real life as you grow up.
Right. Like, yeah, exactly. So, like with business, I think, or with anything, it's the most important skills are like just being able to sit down, focus, and get work done. And so that's those skills need to be built up, and that ties into the constructive screen time. Like if you're able to just sit down, focus, and get work done without going on your phone and scrolling through TikTok and getting distracted and all that, you're going to be successful. It's just inevitable.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of specifically your app Codera, what made you guys think there was? And you kind of already touched on this, and I don't know if maybe you touched on it before we even started the live because we chatted a little bit before that. But that there was still a problem that needed to be solved when it came to kids learning how to code. Like, because there's a lot of coding programs and stuff out there. Like, what specific problem were you guys trying to solve?
Yeah. So the specific problem was that I think a lot of platforms attempt to make coding fun. Like I've heard that a lot, and I've
Yeah.
tried those platforms, but I mean, I don't know, they're just not fun. And so And so, yeah, so that's kinda like the aim, and I think that discrepancy is because I think these platforms are built by people who don't know what it's like. I don't think they're as close to the problem as we are. So I'm 17, and so I vividly remember what it was like, and so I know exactly what it would take, and same with my partner Jahan, like, we know what it would take, and so that's why I think we're set up to solve this problem, and that's like, as Codera is right now, like, if you go to the website, we I think we lost a little bit of that focus on like our original mission because we
Mhm.
we took shortcuts and we try to build it faster. And so we did. I don't think we ended up realizing like, because so our mission was the most engaging platform, and I
Yeah.
don't think we lived up to that, and that's why currently we're just full on development. We're peeling back features, and we're just developing right now. We're not really focused on outreach, anything
Yeah.
like that, because we truly wanted to just be the most engaging platform.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you guys have such a unique perspective. Like you said, some of these applications out there are developed by, people like me who have been in technology for 25 years, didn't have the benefit of these kind of coding platforms
Mhm.
as we were learning. And so we don't have that same perspective. So I think that's a really great perspective where they're like, oh, yeah, sure, this would be fun for kids. And you guys are like doing it. And you're like, yeah, this isn't fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome. So, what makes yours the most fun? Like, what does that do? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think this isn't really on the platform as of now, but
Sure.
what we're kind of like going more into is it's like a so you're placed in like a situation where you're like you need to you're like, it's like a futuristic situation. Oh, the asteroid impact came. You need to build and adapt, and then it'll like everything will kind of tie into that storyline as well as like the UI, and so it'll kind of immerse you into that experience, and then the levels will be more gamified, so it'll be like oh, this is your mission briefing. That's level one, and then level two is like that, and then three, and so we want to more emphasize like showing the end result. So it'll be like you code, and then you can see the result of your code, which will be
Mhm.
like an animation. And obviously, the code won't actually be sophisticated enough to result in that animation, but it'll kind of show like it'll give a glimpse into what's possible. And that's kind of what we want. And that's what's going to spark that passion to keep going. Like, oh wow, this is what I just made. I want to create more. And so that's kind
Yeah.
of what we're aiming for.
I love that. Like, I actually didn't even know that. And I think that's such a great angle to take where you're really looking at it like a video game
Yeah.
where there's missions and like the code is basically what, they do to complete those missions. I love
Mhm.
that. It does sound fun.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of had to like imagine myself like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I would want. Yeah.
Right, right, right. That's awesome. So as you were getting started, what kind of stumbling blocks? You just mentioned one, which is a really great, like so intuitive perspective. Like, oh, hey, we're trying to do too much. We need to scale back. What other stumbling blocks have you guys run into?
Yeah, so stumbling blocks would mainly be with, I think, belief, like just
Mhm.
like doubts
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
So going along and then doubting yourself. Oh, is this? I don't know if this is gonna work. Oh, this person hasn't done this. Oh, this feature broke. Oh, and then like all those problems that come, and then it results in doubt and negativity. And I think just remaining positive no matter what happens. Like obviously like stumbling blocks are going to come, obstacles are going to be experienced, but if you just keep on that path and don't never doubt yourself, trust the process, trust everything will go well, everything is well. And I don't know, I think that's just super useful, and it just like changes things, it makes everything better.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you're gonna hit stumbling blocks and you're gonna continue to hit stumbling blocks. So you did mention to me a Kickstarter campaign. Tell me a little bit about that. So for people who are watching this later, I will put the link to the Kickstarter campaign in the description, but let me know what that's all about.
Yeah, so the Kickstarter is kind of like, oh, okay, we need to this isn't the most engaging in the world, so we gotta do more development, and, it's just me and Jahan right now, so we kinda can't afford to make the features that we know can make it the most engaging platform, and so we're trying to raise $5,000 with that Kickstarter, where I think we're 33% of the wait, 33, I think something like that, percent of the way there. And
Nice.
so yeah, so what that money is gonna do is it's going to we're gonna be able to hire video editors. And so we want to make like more like content of us teaching, and then edit those videos, and so it'll be like short form style content videos, and that'll be like
Cool.
at the beginning of the levels. And then we
Mhm.
also want to have those animations like there's a platform called Rive where you can build interactive graphics and stuff. And so I know a few Rive developers. They're a little expensive, but it's like it's worth it. Like it's so cool.
Right.
Like you can interact with these graphics. You can see like coding processes and like how they work by like visually, and then
Mhm.
coding, and then seeing like a robot do whatever animation you coded. And so like I kind of want those features to be implemented, and that's all going to be able to do.
That's awesome. I speak from experience. I have a very analytical brain, kind of like I don't do a lot of programming, but
Mhm.
software engineer kind of brain. And I cannot do like graphic design. So I could totally understand why you would need some funding to get graphics going and video editing. Like that's just not the same kind of skill set that the programmers would have.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, what can we do to help encourage, your project, aside from donating to the Kickstarter, which I would definitely encourage everybody to get on that Kickstarter. Let's get this platform awesome. And I know that you're probably going to be shutting down like signups for Codera at the moment, but kind of a wait list kind of thing. What's kind of your plan for the next little bit?
Yeah, so I guess collecting emails, so that wait list would be able to collect those emails. So then when the platform is truly ready, I'll be able to release it to everyone that had joined that wait list. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I guess, um, stay tuned. Yeah, we're gonna be working really hard, and then we'll get that out there.
That's awesome. And then just kind of on the personal note, so are you a senior this year? Are you a junior this year? Are you graduating soon?
Yeah.
What's kind of your plans for the future?
So I'm a junior right now. I'm a junior in high school, and yeah, I
Okay.
plan on taking Codera. Just like keeping on working on it. I truly just want this to be like the best platform in the world, and so I'm gonna continue working. And yeah, I don't know where this is gonna take me, but it'll be good. So yeah.
That's good. I love your drive and your initiative. I love everything about what you've got going on. Is there anything else you wanted to talk to this audience about kids, coding, anything else?
Yeah, so I mean, what I would want to say is just like encourage your kids. If they have big dreams, then you should also have big dreams. Um, and just yeah, encourage them, encourage their beliefs. If they believe in themselves, encourage that belief in themselves. Tell them they can do anything in the world because they can. And yeah, that's
I love that. You know what? And sorry, just as like a side note, I had a conversation last week on this podcast with somebody who talks about having conversations with your kids from a kid's perspective. And this is totally nothing to do with anything we were talking about, but from a kid's perspective, what kind of conversations have your parents had with you around technology, about social media, anything like, because obviously you've got a really healthy relationship with technology. So
Mhm.
I kind of want to help parents
Mm.
mimic that. So anything else that you think you've seen them do or conversations that you've had with them that has helped kind of bring you to where you are now?
Okay.
Sorry, this wasn't in the initial questions,
No,
but I just thought of it.
yeah, no, yeah, this is a good question. I would like to. I want to think about it more, but
Yeah, yeah.
so from
Sorry.
from from like just from like an initial response, I would say, I guess just don't force it. Like, I don't think you should be obsessed about, oh, I need to do this, oh, I need to do that. What should I do? I think you should just like trust that, like believe that your kid is is whatever you want them to be. Like, say, oh, you want them to be informed on technology. I would just say, just treat them like they are informed on technology. And I think when you do that, you'll naturally just do the actions needed to make them informed. And that's a little weird of a response, but yeah, so that's what I found, like, it, like, works, like, is when you kinda treat something as what you want it to be, you'll just naturally do the things needed for that to happen. Um
Yeah, I think I understand where you're going with that, where, like, I like to talk with my kids about it and kind of approach technology, they'll say, "Hey, I want to use this app, this social media app,"
Mhm.
we'll look at it, "Okay, so what are the dangers and what are the positives?" and things like that, but, like, including your kids and not just, like, making decisions for them, making decisions with them. Is that kinda what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I get a lot of hate on my channel for all the like the parental control content that I have. So
Mhm.
I get a lot of kids that are commenting like, "If I was your kids, I would hate my life." We're like, "Well, my kids are happy, so it's fine." Because like I really try and discuss with them these like controls. So when they're little, we have a lot more controls and then we kind of increase their access. So like now my 17-year-old has zero controls because I'm
Mm,
letting go as she gets older. And I think that helps when you're not like just treating them like they don't know anything and they can't understand. I'm like, they can understand. You just need to talk to them about it.
right, right, exactly, yeah, and I think that's a step that a lot of people miss, I think, is that gradual decrease of control, and I think that's really useful, so you kind of when kids are younger, they're more receptive, so when you can
Yeah.
instill those controls in place when they're younger, then it'll kinda stick with them so that when they are older, you kinda peel them back and they're able I think they realize that it's better that way, like,
Yeah.
yeah, so more than they know when they're little, and then when they're
Right.
older, they realize that and they appreciate you for it.
Ah, well, thanks. Obviously, your parents are awesome and encouraging you. So, give them a thumbs up from me for sure. Anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap up here?
I think I said everything.
Okay, yeah, I know, because I've asked you that twice now. Thank you so much, Nathan, for joining us today. It's so awesome to see kids like you becoming entrepreneurs, creating amazing products. And I just really want to encourage your development and encourage Codera, because it sounds like it would be a really fun platform. I'm excited for my 13-year-old to get on board. So very exciting all around. So thank you so much for taking your time out of your day and joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up here, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you.